I'll let the minute taker please call the roll.
Alderman Lazara.
Here.
Alderman Jacob.
Here.
Alderman Winger. Here. Alderman Catalano. Alderman Susmarski. Alderman Roy Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Woods.
Here.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Here.
Okay, I declare a quorum. Next is approval of the minutes of the meeting on March 13th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Next, report and recommendation, Wooddale Road Bridge Enhancement, Landscape Architectural Services. Ms. Hennigan.
Good evening. The committee has a proposal before it tonight for design development services associated with the Wooddale Road Bridge as part of the Elgin O'Hare expansion project. The tollway will be issuing 60% drawings for the bridge later this month. They're moving quickly on the plans. They'll be advertised for letting by the end of the year, and so now is our opportunity to get some upgrades to the bridge incorporated into those plans. Using H.R. Green's recommendation, we met with Gary Weber and Associates of Wheaton to discuss some possible design enhancements and services they could provide. They've recently were engaged by Elk Grove Village and Itasca to work on the Devon Avenue Bridge, which is similar in many ways to our Wooddale Road Bridge. I'll let the representatives for Weber go into more detail about the specific services they'd be providing, but very briefly, we'd be asking them to develop at least 4 bridge design alternatives for the committee to review, and then you'd have the opportunity to look at those, make some recommendations, and then move forward from that point. We asked them to prepare a full scope of services from design developments all the way through monitoring the construction process, but we broke it out into 4 separate tasks, so you would be approving each task individually. The only one you're being asked to consider tonight is task 1, doing those initial designs. And with that, I will turn it over to Weber and Associates.
Thank you. My name is Rich Olson, and I've got Carl Peterson here with me. We're with Gary R. Weber Associates, and tonight we'd like to present sort of the overall. I've got a quick PowerPoint presentation for you. It's like 5 slides. I just want to walk through the process for you before we get into some questions and answers. And then after we go through the process of the PowerPoint, I'd love to take your questions. As Jennifer had mentioned, there's really 4 parts, 4 processes to this overall design component. The first component that you're looking at today to approve is really the design development. And what I thought I would do is just give you some examples here of what we've done in the past. These aren't what you're going to get, but it's similar to what you could expect to see, but of course developed for your community. First of all, what we normally get into is the first design concept phase, where we develop sketch alternatives, and we look at the available information throughout the community, what you're doing, things that you've got going on. We understand that you've approved some design entry features with a certain concept, so we take that into consideration, talk to the staff, and get feedback, and then really use that information to create some concept developments. Then once we get sort of those initial sketch plans going, we'd create elevation views of the bridge enhancements, which aren't just, it's an all-encompassing type of concept. It just doesn't have to do with the bridge railing. It has to do with the face of the bridge and the look and the overall design features of it. Once we've looked at those overall concepts and looked at the initial design, we then take the preferred alternative, and we would then prepare perspective views illustrating the concepts. And this is a good example of what we did in Devon Avenue, where we were able to take the initial design, and at this point we were able to put them and illustrate them for you to take a look at. And we look at all different components, from the detailing of the face of the bridge, the types of colors that the bridge is made out of. There's different stains, the actual railing design itself. In this case, we added piers, we added decorative elements to the bridge abutment system, and we also added landscaping. So once we've gone through this process, we sit down, we have meetings, and we would probably come back before you and get feedback as to where we're at. And we'd take these designs, we'd also develop cost opinions, because for everything that we're going to present, there's a cost associated with it. And of course, we want to make sure that you understand those costs, and if there's something in there that you'd like to pull out or something you don't want based off of the cost, we can certainly look at doing that. After the initial design development process, then we go into the preliminary plans. And this is just an example of sort of a drawing that's put together that is utilized to then go to the next step. Because once you've got that concept, you really want to take it and detail it out so that it can be placed into the IDOT or tollway drawings. And at this stage, you can see certain things like you can see colors being chosen. You can look at the overall bridge design and how it affects the railing design and how it looks. You can also look at the face of the parapet and see some detailing put out in that area. And then once you take this drawing and okay it, then we go and we look at the coordination from the review standpoint from the Illinois Tollway. We take all these revisions into place, and then we go to the final stage of the construction drawings. And the construction drawings are prepared by a structural engineer. You kind of think of this overall process. You start with the wavy lines, the very fuzzy lines, and then you sharpen those lines all the way down to a very thin line, very accurate. The structural engineer that we've worked with in the past, they really start to look at the fasteners and the details, and they take that design and they really make it so it's not going to fall over in the end. And then the last stage of the process is the construction coordination and construction observation. And currently we're in that phase on the Devon Avenue Bridge, and it's a process where the contractors are submitting drawing samples, and we're looking at the samples, we're evaluating for accuracy. We want to take a look and protect the overall design intent, because once they get to this stage, the contractors always want to substitute something. And then the final stage is the construction observation. And that's where we would participate in making sure that the end product has been done correctly. With that, I'd like to answer some of your questions.
All right, so we just had a whole presentation of what this whole project would cost from start to beginning, which tonight we only going to approve the one portion of this. I believe at our meeting that we also talked about having Euler come in and give us some opinions. So my question to you tonight, he just gave the whole presentation, what the final price tag of that project, hang on a minute here, is $68,906. Where is Euler coming in play with this?
I'm sorry, where's what?
Where's the other engineer that the developer that we looked at, that we talked about giving some input on this too? Where's that person coming in play here?
We had spoken with the Lakota Group, the people who had done the entry sign plan for the city, and they've not done this type of work before, but they said that they would be willing, if we wanted to, come in and take a look at the drawings if the city feels that's necessary.
Well,
now, we are giving that the information that Lakota's developed. Weber and Associates has that already, and they're going to incorporate those designs into the drawings. So, you know, if the committee, once they get those preliminary plans, want to get a second opinion in effect, we could ask Lakota about those costs then. But right now, they're not making any proposals because we're not hiring them to do anything.
But, hey, follow.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
But we also looked at the guy that designed our clock tower too, to get involved in this. The point is, I know this is on a fast track. As far as I'm concerned, we don't have a choice on this. But before I commit to all the way down the line, I know we're not going to commit. I want the option is if of those other two firms that we talked about in the back door, I mean, Elgin Air, when we had our meeting with Scott, to have those organizations involved in this too. I'm not saying your organization is not bad, but I want the open discussion with everything. And I just want to make sure the council knows that we had this conversation before. But now I got a proposal of just the first phase, but we got a proposal, the whole scoop for $68,000, so.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
We gave Euler a big project, a lot of money. Lakota, that project was how much money? And we're not even giving them the opportunity on this? I mean, this
Mr.
doesn't,
Murmas?
this doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. Actually, as Jennifer said, the main goal throughout the project has been consistency within the corridor. Staff's been directed to maintain consistency in the corridor. That's part of the reason, probably one of the main reasons we went with HR Green. They've been working with all the same communities. Weber is working with all the same communities. Weber's been recommended by HR Green. And in fact, we've contacted Lakota and Euler. They don't do that type of work and aren't as familiar with the tollway and the process as Weber is. So it actually makes perfect sense to go with Weber.
Alderman Winger?
Thank you. A few things. Firstly, I was going to make that point that there's got to be a reason why we reached out to this firm, and it's for the consistency as well as their expertise in dealing with this, I'm going to call it a niche market. Secondly, for Mr. Marquardt, I recall from one of our meetings in Thorndale Corridor, we had talked about if we do the more decorative on the bridges, that we'd be giving up some pathway on one side, or we could decorate one side of the bridge but not the other. So how does this play into the plan here, and are you accounting for that, and what's the latest on that topic? And then as a follow-up, are we planning within our budget for this project to do the decorating if we hire and do the plans?
Mr. Marquardt?
The coordination with the tollway is ongoing regarding what can be accommodated for sidewalk and bike paths. They understand the city's desire to accommodate sidewalk, bike paths, and aesthetics. There are going to be some design issues. There's no question about that. It's a tight corridor, a lot of stuff happening there. Not all that dissimilar from Devon Avenue, which Gary Weber was able to work through the different design type details. We can't at this time tell you what the final product is going to look like. The tollway is still working on the design plans, but they are making every effort to include sidewalks on one side and a bike path on the other side of the structure, and work for accommodations for aesthetic enhancements such as this. So those conversations are ongoing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Murmas?
There was actually the budget part of the question. We've got roughly $700,000 per year budgeted in the CIP for I think the next 3 out years, and that's not taken into account the land acquisition costs that we may recoup from the tollway. So we may still have that tollway money as a positive to us in addition to the money that you guys already budgeted. So this amount of money is budgeted for in the CIP.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Alderman Jacob?
Just a couple quick questions. Now, does IDOT, do they actually, because you were talking about further down the road, actually designing it and having a structural engineer, does IDOT, do their structural engineers look at this, or how do they get involved in it?
The IDOT bridge designers are concentrated on the bridge itself, and there's a standard railing that they pull out of the can and put there. You've probably seen it everywhere. It rusts out. It looks like it should. And so what we do is we come in and we say, well, we'd like to enhance this railing system in a different way, but when we design that, we need to have a structural engineer make sure that it's not going to fall over. And they really look at the fasteners and the wind loads and the things of that nature. And it's all incorporated within the budget that we presented, but they play a key role at the end of the project.
Alderman Jacob?
And then you guys coordinate with, I'm assuming there's a lot of coordination between IDOT and you guys at some point down the road.
Absolutely, absolutely. The really tricky part is they've got their job to do, and then all of a sudden we come in and we have to incorporate these design elements, because you got the face of the bridge, which is a huge opportunity to incorporate all sorts of design treatments. And when you do that, you have to work with the engineers, because there's certain thicknesses of that bridge that they've already accounted for, and so when you start messing with that face of that bridge, that puts a little wrinkle in your design. So you have to work with them hand in hand.
And just one final question.
Alderman Jacob.
One final question. Could they, after we design this and then further down the road, could they say no to this whole thing, or do you guys already have parameters that they have to say yes to?
There's already things in place from the standpoint of the face of the bridge that they allow for design treatments. It's just how you approach it and how you go about it. There's the cost factor, so they are up and above design enhancements to the bridge. And so that's where I would come in with a cost opinion, along with all the creative things that we'd like to accomplish. I want to make sure there's a holistic approach, and then I'm going to say, well, here's the cost associated with the face of coloring this, staining it, doing different colors. If you want to do some sort of pattern, some sort of form liner, that's going to be a cost per square foot. You know, all these things are taken into account, and we can break that down for you. Just like in the Devon Avenue Bridge, at the start, we had a lot of treatments, and all of a sudden we kind of pulled back a little bit because there was areas maybe we could save some money on here or there. And since we understand how to work through that, we can guide you through that. And really, once we bring something to you, you can kind of question me on, hey, do we really need this? Do we don't really need this? Can we get away with this? How's this going to look? And we can make an informed decision.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Marquardt.
If I could just add to that, in regards to the cost of this, what the tollway will do is any upgrades above and beyond the existing structure, the cost participation will be by the city to pay for those enhancements. All of that will be incorporated into an intergovernmental agreement, which, when it's drafted, will come forth in front of the council. And they're going to ask for your concurrence on those costs so that they can continue forward with the project.
And there's also already designed treatments, so there's, for us, the ability to question them on their side too. I say, well, you were already going to do this, so how are we going to incorporate? So there's ways to buffer some of that cost.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
I make a motion to hire Weber Associates for Tier 1, right?
Task one.
Task 1, not to exceed $15,906.
Second that motion.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Are we kidding ourselves here, guys? Why don't we just award them the contract, because we'll be back here again to do task 2, task 3, task 4 with with them. Why don't we just give approval for all 4 tasks now for $68,000? Because who on this council is going to say, he did task 1, we aren't going to let him do task 2, we aren't going to let him do task 3. Who are we kidding here? Let's bring the whole package of deal and let's approve it all.
I just want to make a comment just to cover a few things. Number one, as far as worrying about Euler and the Lakota Group, city staff, Jennifer and city staff have informed them that this work is going on. This firm has been apprised of the work that Lakota Group did with the signage and what Euler's doing and what kind of design aesthetic we're looking to do. So they're already aware of that. They're also already working with the other communities surrounding us. I mean, it only makes sense that we use the same firm. It's going to be cheaper too. And I will have to agree with Alderman Eugene Wesley. You know, it's better just to approve the whole thing because we're not going to divide this up and hire 3 more firms to finish this thing out. So I would politely request the motion, or if he would be willing to change the motion to include.
Well, I have a couple of questions on that,
Okay.
okay?
Alderman Roy Wesley.
I understand that this was recommended by H.R. Green. I don't have no background on your company.
We can provide,
I don't know how long you've been around. Are you gonna be around? 2016, I don't know.
Mr. Murmas.
Yeah, the numbers in the packet are probably gonna change. That's the only problem with approving everything today, because once we get into task one, I'm sure that, you know, whatever choice we make could in fact impact the plans, construction documents, so those numbers could be in flux, so it could be difficult to pin it down. At this point, these are just estimates for the out phases.
No, and I get that, but I mean, we could, just as we've done with some of the other design contracts, adjust that. I mean, the bigger thing is that let them do the whole project as opposed to, I mean, we're never at any point gonna bring in 3 more architects to design the railing and the landscaping. I mean, doesn't make sense to me.
I
Mr.
can
Murphy.
answer your question if you'd like on our company, if you'd like.
Well, I got more questions too, and saying, are task 2, task 3, task 4, is any of these subcontractors, or are they all at your, I mean,
We have one subcontractor, and they were the structural engineer on the Devon Avenue Bridge.
so you would use one subcontractor for task 1 through 4?
There's only one subcontractor involved, and that's the last, I think, the third task under the structural engineering, cost not to exceed $15,000. And they have, I certainly can provide all of our company background information and would love to share that with you. I can also provide their company background information. We've been incorporated since 1982 is what it is. I always say 85, but 82.
I don't, like I said, I don't know anything about your company, but I'm sure it's in good standards and everything, and want to see some background on
I certainly will provide that for you.
it, which I'm
And
surprised it's not here. So,
We will promptly provide it to you.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Murmas, question, do you want to make some changes
No,
to
no,
the
no, I mean,
motion, or are you not?
if this is the direction, we'll figure out a way to word it or whatever.
I want to see some, I'm going to vote on a company for $68,000 I don't know nothing about. What, you asking me to put? Well, I guess-
Alderman Wesley.
Me?
Roy.
No. Well, I guess it's to the mayor, because I'm asking the question to the mayor.
Mayor, please.
Next week's council meeting, and with final approval would come next week. Will we have that information before next week's?
Absolutely.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
I just have one follow-up. Jeff, you said these numbers are going to change. How much, and I'll ask your company right now, how much are these numbers may change? I mean,
They are currently made cost not to exceed,
right.
and we don't anticipate them changing. If they do, there's got to be a good reason for it.
So then again, I would concur with the motion, I would concur, approve the $68,906 not to exceed $68,906 for all 4. I would like the motion, or whoever made that motion, to add that to the motion, and have them do all 4 things.
Alderman Roy Wesley made the motion. Or you-
Coming back to council.
The 68,000, I understand what you guys are saying on the 68,000. We know nothing about this company. We've sat up here before, hired contract companies that had bad recommendations, and we hired them because we didn't check
Take a
them.
roll call on the motion.
So,
Well,
if you, if,
let me comment. I
I
don't
guess-
know who "we" is, but I'm sure they're reputable, or Mr. Markort wouldn't stake his reputation on it. I'm sure that the city's talked to them.
We have done work in your,
By other communities, I'm sure they're IDOT approved.
No one's asked a question to you about the background from other cities? Elk Grove or Itasca?
Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, I forgot this myself until we spoke again today. They actually did do work with us at the train station. They partnered with the architectural firm at the train station. I know everybody was pleased with the work that was done out there. So I'm sure they can supply all the background information by next Thursday. But we have worked with them in the past.
So if
Okay.
if they send us the
Give me
information,
the
we have it
information,
before the
I'll change
council.
my motion to do the four tasks of not to exceed $68,906.
Does the seconder agree?
Yes.
If I get the information.
Okay. Can we take a roll call vote?
Alderman Lazara?
Yes.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes,
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Yes.
that passes. Next, report and recommendation, declaration of city electronic
thank you very much.
message sign as surplus. Ms. Hennigan?
Thank you. The city previously had an electronic message board sign like the one in front of City Hall. That was in front of the treatment plants. With the work over there, there's no longer space to accommodate that, and it's been sitting in storage. The Fire Protection District is interested in acquiring it, and the Streetscape Committee was in favor of that recommendation as well. So with that, I'll take any questions.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, fire department
Next,
have-
report and recommendation, Euler Consulting Clock Tower Design Scheme.
All right.
Ms. Hennigan, I think you're up.
Thank you very much. We have tonight 4 clock tower designs prepared by Euler Consulting. Euler has asked us to get feedback and some direction that they can use to further develop their designs, which direction the city wants to go to. You've got the 4 designs in front of you. We had contracted for only 3. In coming up with their schemes, they developed a 4th one at no additional cost to us, just to give us another option. I put a little table in the memo to sort of work through some of the differences, because in looking at them, they can be very similar. The differences are really in the materials that are used and how the LED panels are configured. You may remember early on, we talked about there being an LED where we could display messages, and also a light panel that would be more decorative in nature, change colors, seasons, special events, and that sort of thing. They all have the LED panel. On A, C, and D have that recessed light panel. Clock Tower B has the open steel supports, so there's no light panel in that one.
The light, let me, when you say the light panel, are you saying vertically in the center, or the one on top, or are we talking about?
Vertically in the center is the
Okay.
light panel,
All right,
yeah.
so we're-
So I suppose, we're really just looking for direction. What elements do you like? Do you not like? Is there anything you'd like them to change as they move forward? And sort of further narrow down how the city wants this to look.
Alderman Winger.
Well, I would suggest taking out Clock Tower B. It looks, it doesn't have a strong presence, in my opinion, and it looks like we're trying to do it halfway. So I would say no to letter B.
Consider it out.
Okay.
Alderman Jacob.
Personally, I like C and D, but I've looked at the pictures and been reading, I really can't see the difference in the two. I don't know if I'm missing something in the drawing.
Ms. Hennigan.
Yes, I looked at that for quite a while myself. The difference is in the steel supports that go down the side of the LED banner. In C, it's a continuous message all the way around, whereas in D, it would be separate on the different sides. So it's very subtle, though.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Sismarski.
Design A, is that light up behind the clock also, a different color, or is it just one separate? It does light up, correct? The clock is encased?
I don't believe so. I believe it's a solid, like, stone-type material behind there,
Okay.
but it could
But-
be. It could
well,
light up if you
I was
want
gonna
it
say,
to.
it probably could be if that's
Sure.
what we really wanted to do. An effort to move forward. My personal preference would be design A. Alderman Eugene Wesley, do you have a question?
On this, I'm not the expert in streetscape or anything
Okay.
like that, so, but, the only thing I'm requesting is that the clock is big enough people can see it. I don't care, I mean, I'm not the expert, but as long as it's big enough people can see it, I don't care.
Mayor, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Alderman Woods, because C and D have the open work steel, and seeing some of the signs in LaGrange, if you don't keep up with that steel, you're gonna have, like on the highways, when you go into the bridges, you see the rust coming down. It looks really shoddy, and I think you'll have less work with going with the stone in A. And yes, the next question was gonna be, how big is the clock? Because it definitely has to be big enough.
Alderman Lazara.
That was pretty much my question, because A, the clock looks smaller on A than it does any other. So that was the only reason I didn't like A, was because of the clock size.
But
But if we
and
could
again,
make that-
we could modify that
Yeah.
design. What I like about it is the maintenance issues that the mayor touched on. B, the wraparound panel, the center one, so that you can have scrolling stuff. It's not fitted in between metal, and it just has better proportion and ties into the train station a little better.
Yeah, again, if we could make that clock bigger.
Yeah, I think that that's something we could
Yeah.
address. Mayor, please.
Yeah, the other thing I didn't mention is the banner, I mean, it's probably 2 feet, that maybe we need a little larger. Yeah, I mean, but I want to make sure everything's large enough where you can, because sometimes even when you're coming down Wooddale Road and you're reading our sign here, it's so condensed, some of that is really tight, you can barely read it.
Alderman Jacob.
I was actually leaning towards C or D. Don't some of the signs that we designed, didn't some of them have some of that open steel like that? Or were they all brick? I'm trying to remember the signs.
They had some similar features to them, but again, there's many other elements in the city to key to or to tie into, and I think that the signs would complement this design more than supplement it, and that's one of the other reasons I like this one too. So.
Thank you.
Alderman Lazar.
Do we have any specs on this as far as how tall this is and how wide this is? Do we have anything like that?
Not at this point.
Alderman Sismarski.
I'm gonna make a motion to go with design clock tower A.
Second. Let me just make a statement. I mean, that's the motion is to choose design A, but also try to incorporate the issues that we touched upon, the size of that LED banner on top, and of course the clock, that was a big one. Maybe we could just reproportion some of that stuff. And is that within their contract or design service thing to now modify or fine tune the design that we picked?
Yes, that will be the next step, is they'll take all these comments in and make some revisions and bring it back again.
Mr. Murmas.
The good news is that so far from the design schemes that Euler came up with and what you guys are liking here, we do actually have, CIP looks good for something like this. We're close.
Okay, excellent. Mayor, please.
As far as the lighting in the middle going down the center, I'm just curious as to if something goes out. I mean, I know the colors can change, right, just like we have by the wind sculptures. Is that easy to maintain if something burns out, or? whatever inside,
I can ask Euler about the specifics of that.
just so it doesn't become a special project to repair.
Alderman Lazara.
Can we get some dimensions of this, so we know kind of like, you know, what we're dealing with? And do we know the cost of something like this?
That'll all be part of the next step when they make the design changes the council wants, then they'll start looking at scale and more of the details.
All right. Alderman Roy Wesley.
When is the next step? This seems like it's been going on a long time, too. When was the last time they came here and gave a presentation?
Ms. Hennigan.
We did approve this back last fall when we also approved them to work with the landscaping elements on the Wooddale and Irving Park Road intersection project. So they did that first. So that's why we're just now getting to the clock tower. Since the clock tower wasn't budgeted for this year's CIP, it'll be in next year's. So that's why it's taken a little longer, but they will, we can have them come in for the next, once they've done these design revisions for step 2 and make the presentation at that point, so you can talk to them directly.
I'd like to know where they are in their contract and where we are. How much we paid them, how much, where are we? How much is left on the project?
Could you just put that together in a report for the council?
Yeah, we'll provide that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's take a roll call vote.
Alderman Lazara.
What are we?
We're approving A,
We're
but
approving
with
A?
the modifications and.
Yeah,
obviously-
with the modifications, yes.
Okay.
Alderman Jacob.
No.
Alderman Winger.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes,
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Yes.
motion carried. Okay, next items to be considered at future meetings. A is Front Street, will be May 22nd, and City Hall roof, also May 22nd. Do we want to add anything to that, or any items?
I have a question on Front Street.
Yeah, I do want to add something. Could we have someone go look at the train station and find out, is the roof leaking again, or that spot when you first walk in the door is opening up bigger and bigger by that light, and the drywall is, you know, tape is coming off? I thought we addressed that issue to get repaired.
Mr. Forrest?
Yeah, we had an issue there caused by some ice damming because of the weather we had the end of the winter. I got a bid that came in the end of last week from a contractor that we've used before to do repairs there. I was out of town for a few days, but I've got that bid, and I'll be presenting that to city manager tomorrow. But I've got a bid for him to replace that drywall and repair it, check the roof to be sure that the flashing is still in place. And then also I had him give me a secondary bid to include painting the entire interior of the train station as well, so.
Right, that's all I like to.
Mr. Forrest, is any part of this under warranty?
Not any longer.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Jacob.
I'd like to get an update on Arbor Woods, what's going on over there. They're supposed to be doing some work that they're supposed to be completing, and now I see there's houses being built, things being torn up over there. So I kind of maybe like to put that on the agenda to have an update for everybody.
Okay. That's good. Next, Alderman Roy Wesley.
My friend, the Front Street, is that gonna be a report of final on that? Where we are totally on that, or are you just gonna give me because I asked for a weekly thing on that, and
I'm
Mr.
sorry, you
Forrest.
what?
Yeah, we'll be-
Mr. Marmas,
we'll be coming
somebody.
With all the current
Work with me.
up-to-date information, and then asking which direction you'd like to go to, or go in, I should say.
okay, I'm being cautious on what I'm saying on this, so,
Cautious is good.
yes.
That's it. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. I call the Public Health and Safety Committee to order. Let the minute takers say the same people are here. Need a motion to approve the minutes of April 24, 2014.
Make that motion.
Second.
No, you have to update the attendance. Mike,
No, she
oh, you
didn't.
did?
She probably put it in when he walked in. Okay. Got a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Opposed?
Okay,
One opposed.
one opposed. Yeah, you're opposed. Okay, chief, it's all yours.
All right, as you're aware, during an April council meeting, the village of Bensonville had sent over a request wanting partial city reimbursement for upgrades that are going to be happening to the emergency vehicle preemption devices along Route 83. Bensonville has 5 intersections along there. The city of Wooddale has half of one of those intersections as far as police jurisdiction, and the city did enter into an agreement with IDOT to upgrade some of the signaling there on the Wooddale side. Bensonville has already taken this to their committee level and their full village board level, and has approved their contract with Bensonville, or with IDOT to include the signal upgrades and the emergency vehicle preemption devices. And it looks like a couple days after that was approved, they sent the request over to the mayor for some reimbursement. The cost of the 83 in Sherwood upgrades to the emergency vehicle preemption devices are $7,475. The village of Bensonville is asking for Wooddale to reimburse half of that. That would not include any type of ongoing maintenance. That's a part of the agreement they've already signed with IDOT, is that Bensonville is responsible for it. So basically, I kind of outlined 3 different options there. We could approve the cost share with Bensonville, or you could deny it. And the one that would be somewhere in the middle is, I did inquire as to whether the other fire districts were notified about it. The village of Bensonville has declined to assist paying for it. The Wooddale Fire Protection District was not asked to share in this. So the third option that I thought was a logical, somewhere in the middle, was you could pay what would be a quarter of the cost, were all of the taxing bodies to participate in this.
Questions? Alderman Eugene?
I'll make a motion to deny the request due to the fact is that they already signed an agreement without us being involved in signing that agreement with IDOT already. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's over. And just for the fact is that we have asked Bensonville to take part in a couple other projects in this town, like we do at Ellie, across by the VFW hall, and they opt out for a project, and they wouldn't help us fund that project. So, if they don't want to play games with us and help us with projects, I don't think, and they already committed to a contract with IDOT on this now, so I don't think we should opt into this at all. And we only use that for 125 times so far for the past couple of years, so. My motion will deny, option number 1, deny the request.
Do we have a second?
Second.
You had your shot.
Can't help myself.
Alderman Lazar?
Greg, if we deny this, this project's going either way, right, with or without us?
They already committed to it.
That's correct.
Right.
It looks like on April 8th, Bensonville approved the full agreement, which included the emergency vehicle preemption devices.
Okay, so this, oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We just keep going here.
Okay, all right. So this is pretty much out of the generosity of our hearts as far as either approving this or not.
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody second? Okay, thank you.
Alderman Jacobs?
I would actually want to help them out in some way. The city of Wooddale does use this. That crossing there is very important for Fenton High School. We have children crossing there, school buses crossing there. I think that's for the safety. I mean, that's the whole reason this is for, is public safety. So I actually would be in favor of either option 2 or 3.
Alderman Winger.
Alderman, oh, it is. Alderman Winger.
Thank you both.
No, she's just waving.
I am in favor of supporting the measure, and ultimately, this is for safety, and it is an intersection. It's a safety device. And I wish the order of what took place was different. However, this is like a lower dollar cost than a lot of the projects that we do intergovernmental agreements with. So I am prepared to support either option number 2 or number 3. I'm not looking at denying the request. I believe it's important to work with our neighbors. Thank you.
Alderman Eugene Lester.
First of all, I understand your concerns. It's going in regardless. Bensonville is going to end up paying for it anyways. For us to share the cost with them, it's already going in. They signed off an agreement without our approval to even consider going partnership. It's just like us signing a contract and then going to ask Bensonville to pay for the share of something. And I guarantee you, they're going to come back and says, well, Wooddale, you already committed to that contract. Why should we sign into the contract when they already, we aren't denying the safety over there. They are optioned, they signed the agreement to pay for in full. There was an alleyway that was going to cost them $2,000 to do a project in their town, and they choose not to. And those were our local businesses that do tax dollars in our community that help to bring tax dollars to us. So if I'm going to commit to this, I don't think it's right. It's being installed. We aren't jeopardizing the safety. We aren't jeopardizing anything. It's going to go in. But Bensonville's just have to eat the whole bullet. Sorry.
Oh, you want to?
You want me to call on myself?
Who are you? Okay, go ahead. Alderman Woods.
I just wanted to comment, and I completely understand the Alderman's concern about they didn't participate when we were doing a project, but, you know, I think somebody's got to stand up and be the bigger person, and it does make more sense that we cooperate with the other communities, and the fact that they didn't cooperate last time shouldn't be the guiding factor in us cooperating on this. I would be in favor, but I would go for the lesser amount. I think the $1,800, I don't know what initial that was, but that would be my.
Okay. I gotta speak too. Alderman Jacobs.
I'm in agreement with Art. There are a lot of projects coming up that we're going to need our fellow communities working with us as well. And to not work with them is, again, for the safety of the people in the Fenton High School kids, I think this is necessary.
Okay. You know, I was talking to Mike Cassidy about sharing things with Bensonville. Not just projects like this, but sharing things like what we're supposed to do with Itasca, but Itasca is not doing nothing. We already have 2 of their ex-employees working for the city of Wooddale, and I think combining the 2 cities together on sharing things would be a good idea. And this is a good start. We would look like the good guys here with option 2. And Mr. Cassidy, make sure Mr. Cassidy is fully aware of how we feel about this. That before they vote on something, let us know about it too. But we got a motion to deny already. We got a second. So let's do a roll call on that and see where it goes.
Alderman Lazara.
No.
Alderman Jacob. The motion
Motion
is
is
to
to deny.
deny the request.
No.
Alderman Winger?
No.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
No.
Alderman Woods?
No.
Alderman Eugene Wesley, yes.
Okay, that fails. I make a motion to go to with option 2, not to exceed $1,868.75.
I would second that motion.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Before we commit to that, I'd like to see the agreement that they signed off on, that we are committing into this agreement already, that we don't know what that agreement was signed.
Hey,
I mean, I'd like to see the agreement that was signed with IDOT, that we are not in the loop for even more. I mean, you never know with these things. I mean, we're saying yes for something that we haven't even seen their agreement with IDOT on this situation.
I know who that is.
So, I mean, I'd like to see that. And just for you guys know, when Mr. Greg Vesta did pull up the minutes and everything else for that meeting, that board on their tape did not even request at their meeting for us to donate to it. That letter was sent out for one of their employees requesting. So their board did not even know, according to the minutes and according to the tape, their board did not even come flat out and say, why don't we approach Wooddale? Just so you guys know that. So I don't know how they could do that without their board approval.
Okay, before I ask any other alderman, I'm going to go to the chief because
Just because the question came up about the agreement, I did pull the agreement that they've signed, and I could provide it for the packet, but it says the actual maintenance will be performed by the state with its own forces. The financial responsibility for the emergency vehicle preemption equipment at the signalized intersection above shall be borne by the village, which is the village of Bensenville. So there would have to be, between us and Bensenville, some type of letter or agreement saying that this covers the installation only, not any ongoing maintenance. But by them signing this with the state, I believe they've committed themselves to the ongoing maintenance.
well, okay, I'll let you go.
We don't have agreement, we are committing to something that we don't have agreement to sign off on. So we're going to vote for this without agreement signing off that they are going to maintain the maintenance of that? We don't have that, all the documents in front of us, and we're approving this with all of the documents. And then, again, I strongly suggest that their board, even on TV and in the minutes, did not request this. Their trustees or the president did not request this. If you look where that letter came from, that letter came from the Public Works Director. Okay, so my question is, if their board is not even requesting it, why are we having this discussion?
You want to respond?
Am I right?
I don't know if there was any offline discussions that happened that prompted it, but in my viewing of the meeting, I didn't see an official request, so.
Alderman
I'm
Swansky.
gonna make a motion to table this if the second, or if the motion, or the person who made the motion agrees and the seconder agrees till we get the contract to ratify everything in front of everyone, to see, because you're saying the Wooddale Fire Department Protection District is gonna pay also in this?
No.
Which they
No.
said no, but it's on here, it says yes.
No,
It says if all factions, Bensenville, Village of Bensenville, City of Wooddale, Fire Department, both cities are in there, then it'll be 1,800. So if they're out, how much more does it go up? So until I see some kind of contract, some kind of something verbally saying it, or getting a verbal, something verbal in front of me, or something written in front of me from the Village of Bensenville and their trustees, then I'm not proving it.
Mayor?
The reason, option 2 is, yes, if it was all 4 of them, it would be split to that amount, but this council can, that's all they want to contribute, that's all they need to contribute. That's not written in stone that we'll get charged higher. And as far as the agreement, I mean, the maintenance falls on Bensenville, but I take it we would get something in writing. Correct?
Definitely. Yes, we would.
Alderman Winger.
So let's go back to their original request, that, maybe we're getting carried away here, that Bensonville asked for some type of reimbursement. Is that all they've really asked for, or are they asking for more than money?
No, they're just asking for reimbursement, and according to the letter, they had said they would like to invoice the city for the, for whatever that amount was.
So it would be fair to say that we could, when we send the 1,000 some dollars, it go with an attorney letter that says, we're helping in the cost, but we're not helping in the maintenance, or just making it very clear
Yeah.
what we're participating in, correct?
Yes, and we didn't try and craft any type of agreement or letter based on the fact of we just kind of had to have direction first before even spending money on trying to do something like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're Alderman Woods.
I am. Actually, this is from Alderman Sismarski, but maybe we have the city or Bensonville have their staff draft up something for us instead of us spending the money on it, and bring it back to us so that we can agree on it. But at that amount, the 1,884 or 86, whatever it was.
So,
1868, 75.
hang on for a moment. Chief, you tell me that the letter came from a public works director and not a city staff? A manager? Not even an initial from a manager?
No, this came from the Director of Public Works with a copy to their village manager and their civil engineer.
So no initials on the bottom from the city manager, or,
No.
Council,
He was
city
copied.
manager.
really?
He was CC.
Okay,
That's why I'm asking the table.
okay, you're, okay, Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Well, that is my concern. If their board has not even had a decency to approve it at their level or give them directions, like we give you guys direction, why would we even consider it?
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, if they're bored, we got minutes saying they did not.
Okay. Okay, I'll change my motion to table if the seconder agrees.
No.
Oh, you're making this difficult, aren't you?
Came from a public works director.
Alderman Jacob, come on. I'm giving him 2 weeks. Give him 2 weeks to come back with the stuff.
Take a roll call and deny it, then, another motion.
Oh, you're brutal over there. Is
By-
that it?
By
You
next
sure?
week, we should have an answer. Would we have an answer by next week on this?
2
or
weeks.
something?
You come back in 2 weeks.
I just am gonna want some clarification exactly what you want.
I'm gonna do that after we get this table.
No, I got that, yeah.
I'm gonna do that after we get a table, if Mr. Jacobs down there agrees.
Something from their board and their mayor saying they're asking for the money, not public works director.
Right, a formal request from
Public works director, then we read
the
the ask.
appropriate people.
I guess I'll agree.
You see the flames coming out or what? Okay, we got a motion to table.
We got a motion, we got a second.
We got a second.
And is it okay to table it until I get something formal from them?
2
So
weeks.
it's I don't think they're gonna have it done in 2 weeks, but it's gonna have to go to their board if you're looking for board
All right,
action.
fine.
We'll
3
bring it
weeks,
back to you.
4 weeks.
No project's not getting done anytime soon, is it?
It doesn't matter. They're paying for it anyways, and we'll just write the check
Right,
later.
whatever
So,
time it takes, it takes.
They pay for anyways.
I hope our public director doesn't do that without the city manager knowing that.
Authorization from the board to ask us for money.
Nothing against you.
There was a motion, table, roll. Let's go.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion. Oppose? Now you're gonna oppose. Okay, one oppose.
You gotta be one of the bunch.
I think you're listening to Peter Jacobs over there. Anything consider for future meetings besides bike patrol, May 22nd? This is a rough meeting. Alderman Eugene?
Why is this bike patrol thing still here?
Because Alderman Jacobs
We
wanted
have
it.
no money in the budget to do this. Why are we still hashing this now?
He wants to, before measuring grass, he wants to go pedal.
Could you just tell me why it's still there?
Let's talk.
Well, it's, it has nothing to do with the budget. We've been requested to give an informational update on the program itself. I know we've had in the past, and we've had inquiries about it. So we're not coming to you with a report and recommendation. We need $30,000 for the program, presentation only at this point.
It's $30,000?
No, that was just a hypothetical.
Okay, we need a motion for adjournment. We're done.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd like to call the Public Works Committee to order. Roll call taker, note that the same people are here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting on April
Second.
24th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
That passes. I would like to bring item number 7 up first, if we may. Which is the report and recommendation approval of local item section to sewer use ordinance. Do we have any questions on this?
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second? Do we need a roll call, or can we just, roll call?
All in favor?
All in favor?
We can do all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
There you go.
Okay, Steve, you can go home.
Thanks for visiting.
Thanks, Steve. Okay,
Made you wait that long?
I'd like to make a report and recommendation, pay request partial number 5, Williams Brother Construction, Inc., for the NWWTP upgrades Phase 1B project in the not-to-exceed amount of $421,454.56.
Second.
That is my motion. I have a second. Roll call? Questions?
No
I didn't see any
questions.
hands, so
We don't need
roll call.
questions.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes?
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Winger.
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Yes.
And that passes. Report and recommendation, pay request partial number 5, Northwest General Contractor, Inc., for the 2015 infrastructure improvement projects in the not-to-exceed amount of $104,557.27. That is my motion.
Second.
I have a second. Questions? Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Couple questions. The project is to be completed by, can I have the answer on that one?
Go ahead, Art. Mark. Matt, go ahead.
Joe, Bob, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman.
I was gonna say Matt York, and anyway, go ahead.
It's not the worst thing I've been called.
I
Thank
know.
you, sir.
Art came up.
As of today, final completion date is is on Saturday, which would be the 16th, a week from, the 17th, a week from Saturday, yeah, the 17th. There is a request in for an extension due to weather, and that is being mulled at this time,
And how
so,
many,
for 2 more days.
Go ahead.
two more days?
Yeah, but that has not been approved yet.
All right, so if we go ahead and give them 2 more days, I understand that. But I have a
Go
couple
ahead,
questions.
Eugene.
The other question on this, what is still left on that project to do, on that punch list? Now, here's my concern. South Cedar's got that hoop in there, that loop. I got a gut feeling they may come back and say, hey, you gave us those 2 streets now, which we approved. So they will not make the May 7th, I'm just throwing this out here, that they won't meet it, so they're going to assume that they can tack that into this contract. That ain't happening here, as far as I'm concerned, because that's a separate contract. Okay, because South Cedar needs to be completed, and Montrose punch list, South Cedar, Montrose, South Cedar must be completed. Sod, if I'm mistaken, sod, sidewalks, curbs, streets, and everything must be completed by, if we go May 17th, we'll give them the two, we'll say they approve it 2 days.
Maybe the 20th, yeah.
So my question is, has there any conversation been that they are going to try to move that South Cedar, they aren't going to come out to grind it, and they'll give excuse, well, we're going to get the grinding equipment out for those 2 side streets, now we'll do South Cedar. I just want the council to know that that ain't the agreement of
Okay,
contract.
Jeff?
Well, what you have before you today is the partial pay request.
I understand.
Please hear me out. I would feel uncomfortable, and I would advise the council not talk about any contractual terms or finish dates or anything like that with a partial pay request, as this is work that's already been done that we need to pay. Anything else we can talk about, but now would not be, I don't think, be appropriate to talk about something like that.
So when we have it discussed in a council meeting?
You can have the discussion, this is not the forum.
Okay, Mayor?
Jeff or Matt, I don't know, as far as the extra work that we did, I think I saw something in one of the manager's report that they might not finish till the end of May, is that correct? Or are they gonna finish everything?
Gotcha.
Because you guys were talking about weather, I know that you weren't sure.
No, that was not in the report. I think I listed the contract completion date, not end of May. And like I said, I wouldn't
So
give-
everything, when Matt said those 2 streets, Murray and Cedar on the north side of Montrose.
They haven't asked for an official extension.
Okay,
of
so
it,
that's, those will be done by the 17th.
Yeah, everything is supposed to be done by the 17th.
Because I know when we.
That includes the 2 side streets that we added.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
I guess this question, well, Matt or Jeremy. Okay, we got the names right. These sheets that I'm looking at, payment requests, these are things that are already done. Okay. So, just for curiosity, they have sod on here and dirt. Where's the sod and dirt? It says,
What line item are you looking at?
yeah, I'm on page 2.
On page 2 of,
It says Northwest General Contractor.
okay. On the certification of payment,
I guess so.
is that line item 75?
Okay,
Is that what you're looking at?
okay. I'm sorry, I'm reading,
Yeah,
I understand it now. I'm reading it wrong
okay.
because I didn't carry it over to the other aisle. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That wasn't easy.
Glad I could be of service to you tonight.
We good? Okay, let's do roll call.
How much is left on the final, how many payments are on this total contract?
There'll probably be one more payment,
How much-
maybe one more partial payment, and then a final.
How much is left after this payment?
I think the final payment, looks like we're about 207,000 plus retainage.
And the driveways isn't there driveways that need to be repaired there too?
Yeah, there's still quite a bit of work to do out there, but our hope is that they'll be done by the 17th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mike, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes?
Alderman Jacob. Yes. Alderman Winger. Yes. Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Yes.
And that passes. Have a report and recommendation, professional services agreement with HR Green, Inc. for the Central Avenue Sanitary Sewer main replacement in the not-to-exceed amount of $77,948. That is my motion.
Second.
Questions? Roll call?
Alderman Lazara.
Yes?
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Winger. Yes. Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
We don't get a bill.
And that passes.
No bill tonight.
Items to be considered at future meetings, treatment plant informational update on May 22nd, Prospect Avenue speed bump survey June 12th. Anything else? Go ahead, Eugene.
This GPS for the truck, I don't know if we have to go in closed sessions with that or what we have to do with that, but I would like that on
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, we're consulting with legal right now, and there'll be a memo in your packet within the next 2 weeks as far as the steps to get where we need to be with that.
Thank you. What,
Okay.
could it go on the agenda though?
Not necessarily.
Go ahead.
Well, before we sit down with legal, should we maybe have a conceptual discussion of whether we even want it or not? Like a majority of council wants to pursue it?
Jeff?
Well, the last time we talked about this was during the CIP. It wasn't included in fiscal year 15, which is the budget we just started, but it was alluded to that we would plug it in 16, but nothing was officially ratified.
Mike?
I just got something for under the, under A, for the treatment plan information. What is it gonna contain? Is it gonna contain any pictures before?
Go ahead, Matt.
We're working with HR Green right now on a PowerPoint presentation and kind of where we're at, where we're going. Hopefully we'll have some pictures
Yeah,
or.
so along with that update,
Yeah.
can we try and get some, what we?
Yeah, kind of
some us
where
can't
where
get out on
we're
the
at.
site during the day.
Yeah, where we're at right now. Yeah, we'll, I'll make sure that there's current pictures of, construction as is.
Okay, thank you.
We can discuss from there.
Anything else? Oh, go, Jeff?
Yeah, we're gonna try to get as many pictures in there as we can before and after. I know we have some internally, and then I know Alderman Woods has a collection that we may have to tap as well. So maybe he's got some good ones he could email us.
No selfies either.
No.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I saw something on the power lines a couple weeks ago. Where do we stand on that, for the burying the power lines on Irving Park?
Jeff?
Yeah, the council had approved X amount of dollars for an agreement with ComEd to develop the scope of the project. They're still doing that. Since we started, yeah, they're still developing the scope. Since we've started, the price tag looks like it's coming way down, but we don't have a definitive answer of prices yet. We're still actually working with the landowners, seeing if they would be amenable to work with us and things like that.
Right, Eugene?
One other thing, I would like to, I would like ComEd to come out and bring us up to date on these smart meters that are popping up, that could be coming in our town.
Jeff?
Yeah, I noted that down when we talked earlier today, so we'll have them come probably a council meeting.
Safety or public works, but there's a concern.
Go ahead, Jeff.
And the one question with the GPS, so as it wasn't in the CIP necessarily, are we supposed to move forward with what we would need to do to get it, or do we want to have a discussion on if we even want it?
We could always move money around.
Mike?
I don't know if it goes under, public works, but the ComEd is raising it 5%, correct? Is that, that's to our town also? Because we got First Energy also here too, so.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, ComEd's rate structure is changing in the spring, and our electric aggregation program also expires later this year. So if you remember at a couple council meetings ago, we were gonna bid out the electric aggregation program again. The bids didn't come back favorable, so we're gonna then bring that back in June when we got the ComEd information. So you'll be seeing some decision points in the first council meeting in June.
Anything else? Go ahead, Ray.
To answer your question, Jeff, about the GPS, no, we went on to electric there. I would say continue to go with the legal and see where we stand on that and give it and let.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Send a letter.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is, since I've had multiple aldermen ask about it, I want to continue on getting the information to you of what we need if we wanted it. So I would just continue with that. So that's why I don't want to say we're going to bring it to committee to discuss, because I don't know what the steps are yet. It's a little bit more complicated than just, oh, we want it.
Could you say within the next couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah, we're already working on it. Should have it within a week or so.
Okay.
Okay, is that it? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Like to call to order the Finance and Administration Committee. The minute taker take roll that everyone that's here was here before. I need an approval of minutes from March 13th, 2014.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A report and recommendation for portable cinema system, Park District Partnership. Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, what you have before you is a request from the Wooddale Park District to cost share with a movie system that they're planning on purchasing. As you know, the city does movies in the park every summer. I think this is probably the 4th year we've been hosting that event. The Park District is looking at doing some events like a drive-in movie at the golf course and things like that. They know we do movies in the park. They're looking at partnering up and sharing some of the costs, so the city would theoretically not have to go to an external vendor and rent the equipment, where we'd both kind of share in use of the system. The system they're proposing is a little bit bigger than the system we currently get, so it would more than meet our current needs. In the memo, it outlines costs on how much they're actually asking for us. They're asking $5,000 from us. The one thing that this does not cover, if we choose to participate, we still will have external costs associated with movies in the park for the licensing of the movies. So that wouldn't cover that or any personnel costs associated with, Public Works cleanup or anything like that. This is just for the movie system, not the movie and not the manpower.
Do you know the total amount?
Well, they're asking for $5,000 from us. The total amount is listed in there. I think it's excess of 14.
Alderman Woods?
So then would we have to hire their people? Who's going to be trained to run and put this all together?
Mr. Murmas?
What they've indicated is for the first year or two, they'll come out and they'll kind of run it because it's their initiative, and they'll, in subsequent years, train us, somebody on city staff, so then we can run it. So they've indicated the first year or two, that they would be doing it, and then they'd kind of train us and turn it over to us for any events we'd want to do.
And- Yeah. And would there be a cost to us for them, or are they going to do it out of the goodness of their?
Mr. Murmas?
They seem to indicate that it would be out of the goodness of community sharing.
Mr. Jacob?
I'm all for cost savings, but one of my issues with this is, we now do four a year, but who's gonna, if we have a date that conflicts with something they want to do, then that means we can't do what we want to do because the park district's holding this thing.
Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, I would assume we'd be able to work something out with scheduling at the beginning of the seasons, map out our dates, map out their dates. I don't think the scheduling will be that big of a deal. We plan this pretty far ahead.
Follow-up?
And what about, repair of if there's repairs, are we gonna pay for half of that as well, or who's taking care of this thing?
Mr. Murmas?
They indicated that they'd be in control of the screen and we would be able to use it per requests. I didn't get into, maintenance of the screen or anything like that. I didn't want to get that deep in it because I didn't know if you were just going to shoot it down right away or not.
Was it there? No.
Yep.
No,
Go ahead.
just one follow-up.
You done? Jeff, it says the system's over 14,000 with a 3,000 discount. So that brings it, is that 14 with the 3,000 discount? So it would bring it down to 11?
Mr. Murmas?
Or
No,
is it
the
14?
price is 14.
Okay.
And I believe they
How much-
also secured some money from a local bank as well to help
Yes,
participate.
how much?
From the bank?
Yes.
A couple thousand, I don't
Okay,
know the exact amount.
and I'd like to know how much they're getting from Itasca Bank, and are they getting some from Topgolf too?
I'm only,
Because, the Park District could sit there and hire a consultant for remodeling, and
Mr. Murmas?
I'm only aware of one sponsor. That's all that they mentioned.
so, and for us to run the movie in the park. Are we gonna make some kind of agreement with them too, of them letting us to use their equipment to run it, so we only have to rent the movie then? I mean, how many, could you put this out for 5 years?
Mr. Murmas?
What do you mean, put it out for 5 years?
Well, it's saying an agreement with the park district for, okay, that we're allowed to use your equipment for 5 years if we go to this. Well, that's fine, but I don't want them to come back and say, well, next year or 2 years down the way, he says, oh, well, you know what, we're not getting along with you and we're taking our equipment back, we're going home. You know, and then we paid $5,000 for a screen, and then we're back to the same boat again. I mean, look at Bensonville and Wooddale is fighting now. I don't want the Wooddale Park District in the city.
Eugene Wesley?
Okay, according to this memo, let me phrase this. According to this memo, long-term opportunity include training our city staff and on the project system, or hiring park district operating the system for the city of Wooddale. The question was this raised: are we hiring the park district to hire it, or is our staff going to be trained on it?
Mr. Murmas?
Different question. That's long-term. If we don't want to be trained, we can always just wash our hands of it and they'll staff it for us.
May I do one follow-up? Are we taking part in music in the park up there?
Mr. Murmas?
We participated in that last year. I think it was around $800 or $900.
Have they come forward yet?
I haven't received anything this year.
Mr. Woods?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to something Alderman Jacob touched on. So, I mean, the summer's essentially 8 weeks that we're able to use this, and we're gonna use it 4 or 5 weeks. That narrows their use. I mean, I almost see the conflict. I mean, I don't see, if they're only gonna use it twice, I don't see why they're getting involved in buying this whole thing. So my thought is they wanna use it more, and potentially, are we gonna have some issues?
Mr. Murmas?
They could also, they kind of, you know, they like the music, they've liked the music in the park partnership. I think there's maybe some, somewhat of a desire to partner up and make it a joint event now that's a joint screen. Hey, Wooddale Park District and City, movie in the park, these 4 dates, in addition to if they're doing their drive-ins or whatever.
So what you're saying is their thought process may be to move it from Town Center to Sauk Creek and do it in
No,
combination with us?
I think they wouldn't be opposed to partnering with us in the town square, but also at the same time, they'd like to have a golf drive-in movie. Maybe we can partner with them in that as well, I don't know.
Okay.
It seems like they're buying the system, no matter what, and they want to know if we're interested, because they know we do movies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so basically, we do ours the 4 Saturdays in July, so, I mean, we can tell them, hey, you know, we'll contribute, as long as we're still get our 4 Saturdays in July just before the fest. That's, unless, then if they have other dates and we want to do other dates, then, right?
If we're gonna participate, whatever terms you guys want, we'll make sure that we write it in there. These are the terms, and money's contingent upon these terms. I mean, we started the movies in the park. We want to make sure we protect our product here, and especially since we're redoing that whole park area, we want to make sure that we have what we want.
That's what I'm saying. As long as we get our 4 dates that we've been doing for the past few years, and then if, after, you know, they pick all their dates, then if there's other dates available and we want to throw another one in, then that's a different story.
I mean, if you guys, if that's what you want, we can just make a motion with the contingent of us getting our 4 dates in July and see what they come back with.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second.
All right, we have a motion.
Second. Yeah. Jacob?
I'm having a hard time supporting this. There's too many unknowns here. Who's going to fix the thing if it breaks? Conflicting dates.
Park District.
Okay. Do we have that in writing?
Jeff's getting it.
I can make that happen.
That'll be one of the stipulations.
Again, if there's conflicting dates, who's going to get precedence or priority over this? The Park District or the city?
Well, that, our previous direction supersedes any of that, because we're not going to participate unless we get our 4 dates.
That's what the motion was, if we don't get our 4 dates, then
Okay. But what if we want to expand with our new park and go to 6 or 7 times in the summer?
Mayor, or Jeff?
I mean, they're not the evil empire, I'm sure we can
Right.
work something out.
We seen that movie?
We get our 4 dates, they get 4 dates, and then, you know, we'll work it out.
All right,
Another thing I'd like to see are the specs on this. Cinema projection system is the actual product that they bought, Jeff?
Mr. Murders?
Well, they didn't buy any product yet. They're working with this company
Okay.
on that package, and I know that that package is similar to what we're using, except larger in scale.
That's even better.
I mean, basically, I'd like to see what the warranty is and what the expectancy of, as far as the life expectancy and that kind of thing. I mean, basically, the way I'm looking at it is we're about a third owner on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't forget too, I mean, if I'm not saying things are gonna go south, but we're gonna make our money back in 2 years. We rent this, it's 2 years worth of money right there. So-
Yeah, I still would like to see the quality of this thing.
So even if it breaks after the 3rd year, we still made money on it.
Okay.
And we had a motion and a second to give direction to staff, so. Go roll call?
Oh, we'll come back. Since it's,
Well,
When will this come back, because are we, I know our movies in the parks are pretty, coming up here soon, but I think the first one's in June, isn't it? So my question here now, how long is this going to take, and then we already going to commit to money out for our movie in the park now, because our first movie is June something. I mean, so we aren't going to get the use out of this for the first year, if you really look at it.
Mr. Murders?
Yeah, as I stated before, we plan this way ahead of time, so we've contracted out for renting a system already in the winter. So timeline for this season was shot 6-7 months ago.
Right.
So this would be in use next year.
Right.
So, you know, we're not rushing on this. They'd like to get it going, obviously, but, I mean, I'll get back the information as quick as I can.
It's not in the budget either,
No. But tourism.
Peter?
What's the direction that we're giving Jeff here?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'll reach out to the Park District and make sure that any money's contingent upon the city getting their 4 dates in July, and contingent upon them being in charge of the maintenance of the unit, and also seeing the specs of the unit, the warranty, et cetera.
It would've been nice, oh, I'm sorry, it would've been nice if we would had someone here for Park District to answer these questions. I mean, it's another taxing body, I don't see why we put that. But
Well, let's not throw them under the bus. They asked, they asked if I wanted them here tonight. I said I didn't think it was necessary, so they did ask. So I apologize. It's my fault, not theirs.
Roll call?
What's the motion? What is it?
You just read it.
The motion is,
Direction to staff.
Are you gonna get the specs on it too?
That was part of the motion.
Motion in a second.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Winger.
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski.
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
yes.
Motion carries. Before I go to items for future consideration, I need to ask Chief one question. What are our laws on e-cigarettes in town, inside of establishments?
That was public health and safety listed.
No, I know, I put it on there, I forgot it.
We did pass a ban last year for minors, to not have them, and the state since passed a state law prohibiting the sale to minor. We visited this probably in February.
a question arose at a meeting, and I believe I have a calendar reminder that September, we were gonna wait and see what the state did as far as inside restaurants, and then come back to you with a report on what the state's doing and if we should do anything on that, so.
Question I have for you is, other towns are already making it illegal in their own to not have it inside of establishments? Just because people that do smoke it are, I don't know if it's inhibited or whatever, but they're blowing smoke around, they don't know what's in that nicotine, so.
I know when this came up was right around the time that Chicago was passing a ban, and I know some other towns are starting to look at it, so, I think September is the date I have in my calendar to bring it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you. I have items for considered for future meetings, personnel study, May 22nd, and amusement tax on June 12th. Anything else?
And I have a question. I know we have a movie in the park. Is a farmer's market coming back? Because I know we got to fund that, or is it out?
So,
No, this year, early on in the process, when we were planning, it was thought that the safety improvements were going to be corresponding with that timeline, so this year we weren't able to get the vendors, so it would resume at a future date, so not this year.
And what's that amusement tax? What are we doing?
That item's a strategic plan item. You guys requested to look at different forms of similar taxes like that. It's just to kind of get a yes or no. It's in the plan.
And then update on TIF district, I would like to add in. We talked about the TIF, I don't know that stuff.
Mr. Woods?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't done writing yet. Writing all that stuff down, bird on a wire.
I didn't say.